Next, I introduce Dr. Anbu Suresh, who's an orthopedic surgeon and the medical superintendent of the Skadar Memorial Hospital at Ranipet. Over to Dr. Anbu Suresh.
Thank you, Sir and Dr. Winsley, and good morning to everyone who are in the meeting. I'm happy to be a part of this group because God has done many wonderful things. We learned many things in this COVID time. So when the COVID started, the day of March 8, 2020, we are got scared actually. We had full of fear and doubts how to handle this kind of COVID situations. Now, since we don't have a full-time physician in a hospital, so we just trusted the Lord, our Lord Jesus Christ, and that is our first stage how we started this COVID team. In the consultant meeting, we had on March 8th, and March 17th, we started the COVID preparedness team. In that team, that we include everyone, that is all doctors, some part of the doctors, the team, and nurses and the paramedicals, which form a COVID preparedness team. It's called COVID response team, later called. And still we are in the panic situations. We don't know how to handle this thing, and we're clueless. And but thank God that we had a 6,000 mask, N95 mask that time. I don't know. God supplied the 3 years ago that mask. It was dumped in our drugstore. So we used the 6,000 masks, that is N95 mask from the USA. So we given all the masks to all the staff and give all the training and hand hygienic, all this, whatever the protocols, the advice by the government, we strictly followed. And 18th the March of things, we formed a protocol for the COVID to take the asymptomatic and mild cases. That's our beginning. Thank God that when the lockdown was good to us, this lockdown made that Sam Sridhar to visit our hospital for 1.5 months. So with this, with him, we are able to start the COVID preparedness team to understand the disease process and how to handle this COVID work. So each and every day we used to pray a day or twice a day, but in the COVID time we start praying for 5 times a day. So we strengthen our chaplaincy department to help to encourage one another. And when the first case was reported at Skadar Memorial Hospital, that is a asymptomatic patient, nearly all got scared, including doctors, nurses. So we able to test of 48 staff. We are able to screen for one patient. But later we referred to the CMC because we scared that to keep the patient here. So when we referred the patient to CMC, it's going to be negative. So that was our story started. Now the fear has gone. Now the Lord has given the enormous strength and courage to us to handle the COVID. So we formed initially with a fever clinic, started the fever clinic. And maybe thanks to our government of Tamil Nadu, especially our collector, she gave a wonderful support. She came and visited. And that time is a new district of Ranipet that is designated as a COVID center. So Skadar Memorial Hospital got to be a COVID center without a full-time physician, without any kind of provision, but we form a good teamwork. Doctors, nurses from top to bottom, housekeeping, to all we know how to handle the COVID. So we convert the palliative care ward into the COVID ward. We start admitting the asymptomatic patients and mild cases, and many cases we start admitting. Then later, we converted one of the nursing hostel, because we vacate all the students, we converted one of the nursing hostel is also converted to be the area of 15 bedded of asymptomatic cases. That's we made. But then once we started making this kind of things, we don't know how to say that we got an NABH accreditation. Once we got NABH accreditations and NABL accreditations, then with the help of our collector, we are able to get the ICMR support. We started doing the testing. So in the fever clinic, we do sampling for all the patients. Nearly so far, we are able to, nearly more than 2,000 samples was collected. More than that, we was collected and tested, and many are turned to be positive from the community. And those who want admission, we get admitted. And we converted that one of the special ward that we have got 25 beds of like special ward that converted the entire ward to the COVID ward. We just copied from CMC Vellore how they converted the A block into the COVID ward. So we converted the ward into the thing because it's a single room and a good facility for the patient to isolate. So we are moved from level 1 to the level 2 center where we were able to manage moderate cases also. Now recently we started managing the moderate cases and all the beds are oxygenated beds, but we are not ventilating the patients. And when the patient became saturation is a drop and below 85 percentage of oxygen, we refer to CMC. See, that is a one big great support. So during this time of period, many of our doctors, nurses, and other paramedical people also got trained from CMC through that's a Tata project. What is a big advantage now we got is we got the COVID testing center. We formed a molecular microbiology. That is I never heard the molecular microbiology. I never seen also, but we visited the CMC and we saw that the microbiology setup, and we formed a new microbiology setup. And one of our Dr. Sharon, she's a microbiologist, and she's taken the great challenge, and she started doing the most of the tests. Now the government of Tamil Nadu, they have given a worth of 50 lakhs of machine of RT-PCR conventional machine, so that we can do now 200 to 300 cases per day to help the government, and we can also do this test. So that is a situation of the COVID. But what is God is so good to us is during this entire period of the COVID from March to till date, and nearly only about 56 staff are affected with the COVID. 56 staff, including doctors to housekeeping, all have got well. They have turned to back to the work, except for 4 to 6 staff are still in the quarantine. And the good news is financially God blessed double times. Each and every month, and though we have a COVID center, the many people, our OPD number is increasing, IP number was increasing, our finance is increasing more than 20% because one area we start admitting the non-COVID patients after doing the test. So it's a compulsory that we make all the patients who are coming to a Scudder Memorial Hospital, we do the COVID test and we admit and we operate. Without COVID test, we will not operate. So this will improve our quality work, both in surgical and medical work. And many local practitioners, they start depending on our hospital. So this is a time that we can show our love of Christ, how we can show this the God's love to the many people. And it's a really challenging. And in the COVID ward itself, we start doing a praising and worshipping. Many people coming closer to God. So that is a good news to the people, because many doctors who are admitted in the COVID ward, they start influencing the people and carrying the people. And then this is our situation. So we are able to pay our salary regularly. We are able to pay our dues and pay the bills, up-to-date bills we have settled down, and whatever debts of so far we have been able to pay it. So these are some positive things. What is the challenges we faced? There's a time lag in the procurement due to the lockdown. That is a one big things, I think. Then the transportation of our staff. Many staff are coming from Vellore. So we made it very difficult for the transportation. We have only 2 buses, but thanks to the transport department, they made a very good arrangement because it's a good teamwork. So they have a shifting of nurses, and we made the nurses duty hours more than 6 hours to 8 hours, then 12 hours duty hours. All are well cooperated in these things. So those are the challenges. And some of the time when the doctors become sick or a nurse becomes sick with the COVID, that's a big vacuum. And one time the 2 pediatricians, they became COVID positive. So what to do? We pray to God and we ask the CMC the help and sending one person. So that's a way that we able to run our departments when we are going through some crisis. Achievements during the pandemic crisis, NABH accreditation, thanks, unimaginable. I can't express my word of praise to the Lord Jesus Christ that we got accreditation. Because of the accreditation, our income is increasing. The insurance people start coming and paying more to us. So this is the thing. enabling accreditation. Any churches who come forward to help us in this pandemic illness, they're providing the PPE and sanitizer, some financial support, so that we are able to withstand. Now we have got nearly 45 patients are there right now in our hospital. That is a COVID patient, and non-COVID patients is nearly 65 patients are admitting. Maybe just can keep this is our updating our things. Uphold us in your prayers in coming days. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anbu Suresh, for all the successful work that you are doing. Our next presenter is Dr. John C. Uman, Deputy Medical Superintendent of the Christian Hospital in Bisam Katak in Odisha. He's an undergraduate and postgraduate from CMC, a community health doctor. And over to you, Johnny.
Thank you for this opportunity to share these thoughts. Christian Hospital Bisam Katak is a 66-year-old hospital in South Odisha. It's a 200-bedded hospital with a College of Nursing, a DMLT school, an English medium school, a community health program, and a tribal school. Before pre-COVID, we were doing something like 12 deliveries a day, about 17 surgeries a day. We had 22 doctors at the start of lockdown. We came down to 13 during lockdown, and about 380 staff. So just some pictures of what our context of the kind of work we were doing prior to COVID. Now, trying to show you something of what has happened since the COVID started. We are the biggest hospital in the district for about 100 kilometers radius, maybe. We do more general surgeries than anybody in about 250 kilometers. There is no ICU in our entire district. So most of the sick patients land up coming to us. So if I look at just between July 16th, okay, first our OP, we started fever and cough clinic, which has seen over 2,700 mild and moderate patients. On the IP side, we have had 197 moderate to severe cases coming to us in the last 72 days with ARDS, not all COVID, no. For about a month, we were not able to test. We've been able to test and treat only for the last month. So this includes a number of ARDS cases with scrub typhus and so on. But around 197 cases, of which 177 had SARI ARDS. The majority have comorbidities, the majority are males. The majority is from our own district. We admitted 98 and referred the others at a time when we were not allowed to admit. We know of 26 patients who have died from this 197, some in our hospital, some in referral places. If you look at it from a time trend point of view, this is divided into fortnights since our first patient came in on July 16th. There is a rise in the number of cases of query COVID ARDS coming into our emergency department. There's a rise in the numbers admitted, especially in September, because that is when we got permission to admit from the government. And the positive numbers are rising, and deaths are still occurring because we're getting very severe cases. We're not touching mild and moderate, mild cases or asymptomatic cases. It's only moderates and severes. So I put these numbers in the background and then try and take you through what we are trying to do here. We're a small hospital, small people trying to do our best. Our aim in our approach has been, one, to reduce transmission pressure in the community and on campus, and two, to respond to patients as best as we can. The principles we are using: one, we are aiming for situational excellence and social relevance. Two, participatory management and teamwork, because every member of the team matters. And like Dr. Jalna, Christopher Moses says, the most important PP is common sense. You have to use common sense all the time. So in April, we began with a Mask for All campaign. We stitched over 30,000 masks through tailors locally, distributed across villages, reached food rations to lockdown communities. We started our own PPE, a design and production unit in our College of Nursing, with a large mask which goes from year to year, which we designed here using polypropylene from a shutdown bag factory. We've now moved on from commercial PPE to our own PPE, which we find far better to use. With tear-like, we found that what the PPE that matters is above your shoulders. So a face shield and a good mask is the best protection you get. What is below your shoulders is just to cover your street clothes. We went into multi-level triaging, hand wash and mask compulsory at the entry since 4th of April. 10 rupee masks available at the gate. Fever and cough clinic. Isolation ward by converting our private wards into isolation wards. So it's single room airy, open air kind of spaces. Surge planning, we've made these sheds which will have oxygen access when the surge occurs. We've tied oxygen cylinders to pillars at times where we had to give oxygen to patients. The sari shed, it's called that also because people dry their saris in that shed at times when there are no patients there. So learnings from our preparatory phase. First, leadership, a task force we created on the 17th of March, 16 members from all sections of the hospital. Training, daily updates we do every day. We have a half-an-hour update in the morning. We reorganize the hospital into COVID and non-COVID zones, but these are lines you draw on water because the virus doesn't know which is the zone. So you use universal precautions everywhere. Multi-level triaging and the fever and cough clinic. The isolation ward with multiple expandable plans. We started with 2 beds. We are now at about 35 beds. Reduction of transmission pressure in the community on campus with a Mask for All campaign. Social distancing and crowd management on campus. Moving as far as possible outdoors. So all our queues are now outdoors. We converted the windows into the counters and got queues outside. PPE for all, in-house design and innovation. Procurement of an oxygen concentrating plant. All this we've managed to do in the recent times. In the patient care phase, we found that emergency triage has to begin in the vehicle. So as a patient arrives, we do our first assessment inside the vehicle to know where the patient should get down, or else you have to sanitize rooms again and again. Clinical skills are absolutely critical. We've learned to listen to crepitations in the lungs and decide which way they're going. Revisiting our ideas of hospital architecture, old style, horizontal hospitals have huge advantages. Looking after the staff, you have to be egalitarian in PPE, ensuring that all staff have equal provision, all staff have care access, whether you're a doctor or on the cleaning staff. Hum kisi se kam nahi, stop mourning about what we don't have, who we don't have. You work with what we have, jugaad all the way. Many lives can be saved with adequate oxygen. The MOHFW protocol is great if you have good nursing care. We set up a TrueNat lab so that we can do RT-PCR in-house, and we're grateful to the government for permission. Other key perspectives, one is you have to protect and sustain the mothership. The hit is on healthcare institutions. There are bailouts for aviation companies, but not for hospitals. Financial management in crisis times, we're extremely grateful. Tata Trust gave us a grant between 2014 and 19 to do our infrastructure. That kicked in just at the right time. We didn't know COVID was coming, but that has helped out. But most of all, we're grateful to Mr. Premji and to the APPI, which has supported us and many other mission hospitals extremely well during this period. We're able to keep our costs low for the patients. Our average stay is 10 days for the severe patients. Our cost is coming to less than what the government allows us to charge, 2,950 per day. Our cost is coming to about half of that. And patient care subsidy is given through the APPI grant. So we are able to actually allow our patients to get treatment, the hospital to get the income, and APPI picks up the gap between what the patient can pay and what we need to recover our costs. The greatest asset we have is our team. So education and training, like everybody else said, caring for all the staff, insourcing people as we need. Everybody is multi-skilling, multitasking, taking on new roles. The College of Nursing faculty does PP production. The community health department does crowd management, and of course, spiritual nurture. Watching the trend every day, we do a daily data analysis of global, national, state, and district data. Compared with our data, we present it to staff every morning. And then based on this, we do projections, best and worst case scenarios, creating surge spaces. A big problem is now patients have started coming from remote villages. They can't go anywhere else. The buck stops here. And so we have to get the floor ready to manage patients on the floor because we're going to run out of beds very soon. Finally, recognizing the divine, a consciousness that is a much larger dynamic jigsaw puzzle game going on. We're just part of a much larger picture. The infrastructure was in place 6 months before COVID came in. We had no idea it was coming, but stuff happened, and it's very clear that the divine is involved in this. So put together, we're enjoying what we're doing. We think the worst is yet to come, but the best is also yet to come, and that's where we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Johnny, for that succinct presentation. Now I request Dr. Arpit Matthew. Dr. Arpit is an undergraduate and postgraduate from CMC Vellore. He's a general surgeon, and he works at the Madhipura Christian Hospital in Bihar. Over to Arpit.
Good morning, everyone. How does one follow Dr. Johnny Uman? It is a great honor for me to be part of this panel. I feel quite inadequate in the presence of such stalwarts. Coming from such a small, tiny hospital where even now you see a scene like this. I don't know how many hospitals in the country can have patients coming to the hospital on a horse. Madhepura is in North Bihar. It's a 60-bedded hospital, and like many of the other centers, one of the few healthcare centers in the district. In fact, in 5 districts, the 6 districts surrounding Madhepura, including Madhepura, are in the worst 50 districts for health, according to the National Family Welfare Survey of 2016 in the country. So our healthcare situation is terrible, and COVID has made it much worse. Because of time, I'm not going to talk too much about what we've done clinically, because most of the people have talked about it. In this picture, you can see our triage area, and you can see the various iterations of our homemade PPE. And we really want to thank so many people who have donated to us for PPEs now: CMAI, Tata Trust, APPI, and various other donors. We are now in the process of setting up our COVID ward and care center. Just like in most things, Bihar is a good way behind the rest of the country. So even in the number of patients whom we are having, we're much less than everybody else by God's grace. So we've had much more time. We've also implemented AI technology for our X-rays, which has helped a lot. We have stopped allowing relatives into the hospital, and that has created a lot of tension for the relatives. In Bihar, we say a mob a day keeps complacency away, and that's what's happening on a regular basis now. So a lot of our time goes in handling relatives and patients, and a lot of stress on that part. I'll share a little bit in detail about what we've done on a non-clinical basis, because that's something which we realized we had to do right in the beginning to keep the morale of our staff up. We divided into 2 teams since our patient numbers dropped drastically, and we wanted to separate the staff in case we had an outbreak. So the non-clinical team involved themselves in a number of things: hospital renovation, hospital painting, organic farming. We've had really good crops by God's grace. Bihar is a very fertile land. So a lot of our staff have done things like planting vegetables, harvesting fruits. We planted a huge field of rice. We couldn't go out because of the lockdown, so we started a hospital store. So now all our groceries and provisions can be purchased in-house. So none of the staff need to go out. All banking activities can happen in-house. So nobody really needs to leave the campus. I haven't left the campus for more than 2 months now. We've started coaching for our nurses. Most of our nurses are ANMs or GNMs. So we started coaching for them to help them to do further courses later on once this, maybe from next year. We have a lockdown committee. We realized that among the staff, everybody has a different opinion, and the fall guy is usually the management. So instead of us making decisions about when the people should go out and what the rules would be, we constitute a lockdown committee from the staff, which is separate from our COVID care committee, and they make the decisions. So that has really eased the pressure on the management to make decisions about what the rules should be. There's been a lot of, one of the other groups was campus cleaning. So our campus now looks very pristine. And we've also started the MCH Academy. All our children were at home because the schools were out. So now they go to the MCH Academy, which hopefully will progress in future to different schools. Just a few pictures. That's someone from Vellore behind the mask, Dr. Elizabeth, one of our doctors from Vellore. She's painting and scraping. Campus cleaning, and that's a few of our children in the MCH Academy there. Our main COVID response has been actually in the community. We serve a extremely poor population who are more or less forgotten when India's statistics are talked about. Our prime community is the Mahadalit community of the Moosahars. Moosahars is a derogatory term. Moose is rat, ahar is eat. And this community, you can imagine the level of oppression that has made one community's staple diet be rats over centuries. So this community is extremely downtrodden. That's why they're called Mahadalits by the government. So you can see the pictures, the way they live. Really, every time we go to the village and see them and see the situation they live in, It brings, tears to our eyes and a heavy feeling in our hearts. When the lockdown came, it hit them the worst. So we started giving them food, and we provided for around 3,000 families a 1 month ration, around 2,000 rupees each. We really want to thank all the people who gave money for this. It has been a huge endeavor, and our community team. We also started the masks for all initiative. So we're attempting to do a study to see if in our villages the transmission of COVID is less because of all the people who have our masks. We've distributed about 20,000 masks so far. We are also looking to, we had a system of village health clinics. However, now because of the COVID situation, we've had to stop those. We're looking to see if we can start telemedicine centers in a few of the key villages so that patients who cannot come to us anymore and whom we can't go to either can have healthcare. We continue to provide 2 monthly supplies of drugs to our long-term patients in the villages. COVID is a really stressful situation, and I'm sure that everybody is in the same situation. And the last 3-4 months have been among the most stressful of my life. But I just want to say thank you to God, because there has been such a lot of grace given, and the patients who are coming are much sicker and much more aggressive. But there have been so many miracles that we have seen. And one big miracle is that we've not had a COVID outbreak at all over the last 3-4 months in our hospital. So many of our migrant laborers have come back, and we have been attempting to provide them some occupation. One of our key areas for community development is work in livelihood. So we have been giving them goats. You can see in this picture on the screen, there's 2 goats there, and so goats they multiply very fast. So that's one area. Also, we are trying to put them onto farmers groups, vegetable producers groups, and milk cooperative groups, so that over the course of the next year or so, we can reduce the migration. We have around 90 to 95% migration for our community, and that's one of the areas which we are looking for. In the next 6 months, if we can provide good, stable livelihood for our migrant laborers, we can reduce migration, and in that way reduce child trafficking, which is a huge problem in this area. When the men go away, the women and children are at risk, and also improve the health statistics of our community. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate CMC for all it's done. I appreciate them for that COVID care course along with Tata Trust, and we really are grateful to be part of this wide network. Thank you.